Hello and welcome to another IG Live. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to award-winning author Mariana Llanos, and you may know her from her books like Run Little Chaski, also available in Spanish, and Benita and the Night Creatures, again available in Spanish. But today we're going to be talking about her chapter book series, which is also really wonderful, Vampirita. The second book in the series is coming out this fall, so we're going to get a little bit of a inspiration behind the series and how she became a writer. And if you haven't entered this week's giveaway, be sure to do that. It's in our pinned post. Hello.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. It really is. I mean, I've gotten to read your books over the years and review them, and so it's so exciting for me to actually get to speak with you. Thank you for coming on today.
Well, no, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your also your willingness to read them, to review them, because that's important. You know, that's what we authors, as you well know, need. So yes, I appreciate you doing that work for us.
Well, why don't we get started with you? Maybe just, I don't think you need to introduce yourself, but maybe tell us a little bit about how you became an author. What was that journey like for you?
Well, yes, I believe that I've always been a writer since I was very, very young. So I started writing stories, poems, and whatnots since I was about 8 years old, and I always on my notebook. But it's not something that I considered doing. I always knew I was gonna write a book, but it's not like I thought, okay, I'm gonna be an author, you know. So I don't know, because I took it for granted, right? Because I knew I could write, and it was my thing. A big reader. I read books all the time. I mean, all the time when I was growing up. So, but I became an author actually in 2013. I started by self-publishing. So I self-published my first book called Tristan Wolf, and it was the first story that I had written in English after I moved to the United States. I should say I'm from Peru. I'm from Lima, born, raised there, and I moved to the United States later. And so it was a moment when I decided to start writing in English. It was different for me. And when I saw that story and I knew I had something that I liked in my hands, I thought, okay, I want to publish this. I want to be an author. Also, at that time, I had young children. So they really inspire me because you want your children to be able to read your books, to see what you're seeing in your head. So I researched about traditional publishing, about self-publishing, and at that moment, self-publishing caught my eye. It seemed more doable than traditional publishing. So that's how I started, and I self-published several books. And once they started gaining some recognition and some small indie awards, that's when I decided that I needed something more in my career. And that's when I decided to, to start looking for an agent, to try to submit to traditional publishers. So it's been a journey. And that book, the one that you showed, Vampirita and the Angry Mob, is my book number 15. So it's been, a little journey.
So the book that is coming out in the fall is going to be number 16 then? Wow. Well, I
Yes,
was wondering, you mentioned about the, what was it, Tristan?
Tristan Wolf.
Tristan Wolf was the first one when you were going to write in English. So I'm curious because all of your books come out in English and Spanish, which is amazing. Do you write them first in English or in Spanish?
I write them first in English. And the reason is because I think I've been here for so many years, and that, kind of my brain starts creating those stories in English. Sometimes they're in Spanish, sometimes, or poems in Spanish, more than stories. But also, I think the first reason is because my children help me a little bit when I'm creating the stories at the beginning, especially, is this how you say this or that? Because sometimes words I don't know, right? Or I'm always get mixed up with all the on, in, at, from, all of it. Like, okay, I
It's
don't
the hardest, right?
know. So yes. And my children usually are the ones, Mom, you say, out instead of off, Okay, well, no, that's a tiny thing that you can correct.
Right.
And also because my editors, my agents, they speak in English. So, it makes sense for me to write in English first.
Right.
And then sometimes I do the process simultaneous almost, working side by side. Other times, like for example, in the Vampirita series, that is a longer chapter book. After the book is it's edited by the editor, not only by me or my critic partners, but the editor and my agent, all of that. After that is when I start translating it. Because otherwise, I would have to be updating the translation all the time. So I wait until the English version, the final English version is finished, and then it's when I start the translating, that I don't call translating, I call rewriting in because there are some things, if you speak Spanish and you read my books and you're gonna read and you're gonna say, this is not exactly what it says in the book. Because my idea is to capture the feeling of the character and the situation, to convey what's going on in that moment, and not so much to focus on the words, on the exact words that the characters are saying.
Oh, I wish we had more time to talk about that, because I know you also work as a translator, and I just
One
find
day,
the whole process.
yeah.
Because like you said, I mean, not to that you might not do a literal translation, but more like the feel of it, and especially getting to translate your own works or rewrite your own works, that makes a lot of sense, because kind of how it's supposed to be.
You want them to sound a certain way, so you want the reader to feel a certain way. So you sometimes have to use different words. I don't, in my real life, day to day, I can say one thing my kids in English, and then I will say it in Spanish. I'm not saying the same thing, but the meaning is the same.
Well, speaking of wanting to kind of capture the same meaning, you're in a really unique position because, like you said, you're from Peru, but you've lived in the U.S. for a really long time. So you have really a good feel for both cultures. And I was wondering, some of the books like Benita and the Night Creatures or Run Little Chaski, they're really based in a lot of Peruvian culture. Was it hard to figure out how to, I mean, but they have such universal appeal. They've been translated into so many languages. So obviously they're great for kids, even if they don't know if they're not from that culture. Was it hard to figure out how to do that in a way that everybody would kind of get what you were talking about?
No, it wasn't, because I don't really, when I set out to write, I don't focus on, I want to write a culture, I want to write something. I want to write a story. That's what I want to write. I'm telling a story. And usually stories, good stories, have a universal appeal because they convey universal feelings, So in Run Little Chaski, yes, it is a story set in the Inca Empire, and there is a lot of nerdy research behind it because I read non-fiction books like crazy just to do a little, story set, but I needed to make it culturally accurate as much as fiction book is possible, but I wanted to have those non-fiction elements in the story as well, but I'm rooted in culture and in history, so too. So, but at the same time, the book is about kindness.
Right.
The book is about, a person being kind to animals. So that is what it is about, and that's universal. So that's what I focus on. And in the same case in Benita, we may have these characters out of the ordinary and, all of the craziness going on around her. But Benita's story is about a girl who loves reading books, and that's what it is, So yeah, so I keep that always in mind because I really don't like being pigeonholed, on because I just want to write stories, but my Peruvianness, my being Latina, being Peruvian, especially, comes through my literature because it's what I know, what I breathe, and it's interesting to me as well.
Well, before we move on to your new book, I have to ask, because you have gotten an honor that very few authors have, which is that you are sorry, let me pull up here. I mean, not only Junior Library Gold Standard, but of course, we know that you're a Pura Belpré honor winner last year for Benita and the Night Creatures. What was it like how do you find out? Do they call you, or what was that moment like for you when you found out?
No idea that this, all the American Library Association awards, well, the Pura Belpré is an award given to Latino literature, Latino creators. And I didn't know that all these American Library Association awards were like the Oscars, basically, so I never really paid much attention. I celebrate the people who get them and, congratulate. And I know it's a big deal, but I wasn't aware. So one day, it was a I don't remember what month it was. I think it was January. I don't remember. But I was sitting on my kitchen table and I was just drinking coffee. It was morning, and then I get a phone call from New York, and I almost hung up because I usually get spam calls all the time. I'm in Oklahoma, so there's no one from New York, calling me. I said, what? So I don't know why I answered, but I was ready to say no, thank you, and hang up the phone. So I just hear, this is so and so from the American Library Association, the Pura Belpré committee, and I was like, wait, so did I hear Pura Belpré? So I was like, yes. And then they told me that the book had been selected for as an honor that year on 2024, and that I would be going to San Diego to receive the award. And I was like, yeah, it was very, very, very exciting. And the next day, then is when they do the live announcement on their YouTube channel. But we, the authors, we already know a day before, so we can tune in and say, yeah,
Oh, that's well. Congratulations again, and that's just one of the many honors that you've won. I know you won a lot of Oklahoma Book Awards and children's category.
book awards, and yes, and some recognitions. But usually, I know it sounds corny, but usually the biggest is the parents who write to you and tell you, "Oh, my kid cannot put your Benita and the night creatures down." They're having me read it over and over and over and making all the noises. And I'm like, that's really what gets you. Is what it is. Because even if you have to also put yourself in that mindset that not every book is going to win an award. So why do you write? You write for the people who are reading your books, and as long as they are liking those books, and as long as they're responding to those books, I think that's what matters.
Well, let's talk about your new book. So, Vampirita is a chapter book series, whereas most people probably knew you before from picture books. But and you have the second book in the series coming out in November, I think.
Yes, November 18th. It's ready for pre-order.
Yeah. So, tell us about the new book. I mean, for those that don't know, Vampirita, she's a vampire, of course, from Peru, and then she moves to sunny California, and she has trouble adjusting. She's still kind of adjusting, but maybe a little more adjusted in the second book. I mean, the first book is all about her wanting to go back home. So tell us about the new book and the series and what inspired it.
Yes. Well, Vampirita, yes, like you well said, is a book about a Peruvian vampire. She wants to move back home because she's in Sunny City, California. She hates it. So, and so the book has a lot of kind of little sarcastic moments, and so it's full of that kind of humor. And it was super fun to write.
I just love that picture of her mom.
Yes. Well, yeah, if I had a child like that, I'll probably be filming all the time because Vampirita is very conniving, I should say. So it's always planning things and plotting things and thinking that things should go her way. And so that's a trait of her personality. And in book number 2, like you're correct, yes, she's already living in, she's still living in Sunny City in spite of her, not wanting to live in Sunny City, but she still doesn't like it. Because there's something that I learned. My background is in theater, so that's something that I learned when you develop a character is that characters, should be real to who they are too. So I didn't want her for book 2. I didn't want her to lose all the things that make her Vampirita. She still groans all the time. She hates the sun. She doesn't want to go. She doesn't like she doesn't want to admit that she has friends. She doesn't say friends. She says friends. Hard word that comes out from her mouth, so all of those things make her, and I didn't want to lose that in book 2. So, but in book 2, we're going to focus on her dad, on her relationship with her father. Her parents are divorced, as is seen in book number 1, but her father is involved in her raising and in her childhood and everything, all her activities. But in book number 2, Vampirita learns that there's going to be a spectacular career day in her school where all the parents are going to show up to show what they do for a living. And she is like why they're so nosy? Why do they want to know what parents do for a living? So no. And there's a secret that she has that I'll tell you because I think it's already on the on the little summary. But online, her father is not a vampire, and she doesn't want anyone to know. So she makes up this big thing about her father being the lord of vampires, that he's bloody, thirsty, and he's gonna take over the school with math. So so everybody is of course trying to avoid him to come to the school. So she's trying to again to manipulate the situation like she did in book one, and it's gonna backfire in the most funny way that I won't say, but it's yeah, there's a little twist and something funny at the end. And writing these books is funny for me. It's fun, it's funny. I laugh. I think, okay, this child is terrible. Who raised her? Who created her? It's fun, and I think I like to give this take into an immigration story as well, because usually our immigration stories are all about suffering, and it is true that Vampirita is suffering, but in a very way that that other people. She just wants to go back home to her grandparents' castle and the decrepit sites in Peru and the grim sky of Lima. I don't know if some of your viewers ever been to Lima, but Lima is very not well known for having this cloud cover most of the year. Even though we're right next to the ocean, there's the sky is kind of gray, and we call it panza de burro. That is basically the stomach of the donkey, right? Because that's that color, So, and most of the year is like that, and a little bit kind of there's a drizzle that it's not rain, it's not so yeah, so she misses that, and so it's super fun. I think book number 2 is going to be a really really good company to to book number 1, and I already wrote book number 3, and it's that should come out next year.
Oh, really? Can you give us any preview, or is it too early to talk about that?
Oh, that book is going to be about her relationship with mom, and mom, and there's a love interest for mom. So, of course, she has to intervene as well.
Right.
And, because she's convinced that the guy that likes mom is a monster or something. So yeah, so she doesn't want that. So she's at it. So again, trying to manipulate the whole situation, and then she learns the hard way. How things are. So that's a little mystery there, here and there. But I really enjoy writing these books, and I hope kids and their parents also enjoy reading them, because I think I wrote these books for both of them, for parents and children to read together and enjoy that moment together.
I have to tell you, I've been really enjoying reading it. I mean, like you said, there are just a lot of laugh out loud moments, and she is such a funny character. And even there's a lot of like wordplay in it, and just of course, the whole thing about what she likes uh, and and what they think is okay and what she thinks is okay.
Yeah,
There's always this play. Like, I think, doesn't she call her friends back home her, instead of her best friends, they're her worst friends, and
yeah.
just all it's a very funny book to read, I think.
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And was it hard to switch to writing chapter book after writing picture books?
No, not really, because well, when I set out to write Vampirita, it was actually after I was at a conference, an online conference during the pandemic. And I think right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I remember I saw one editor saying something like, there's not enough Latino fantasy characters for children. And immediately the name Vampirita popped to my head. I was like, oh, vampire. But I didn't know much about it. I just knew Vampirita has to be a vampire. Maybe I should write something about that. And then when I sat down to write something, I thought I was writing a picture book. So the first chapter in the first book, it was just like that. I started like that, but it was supposed to be a picture book. And by the time I was into I don't know how many words, I was like, okay, this is not a picture book. I think there's something else is going to happen here. So this is not enough. The first chapter wasn't enough to be a book itself. And that's when I started having these ideas, but I left it for a few months. And then when I came back to write it, it was just immediate. I already had the whole structure, the whole idea, everything in my head, so it went out really easy. Just had the characters, everybody was right here. So yeah, but that's why it wasn't difficult. But I will say that I did suffer a lot writing the third book in the series, even though I knew what it was going to be about and I had the idea. Well, there were a lot of personal things in my life and things that kind of blocked me from writing. So it took me a long time just to sit down and to be able to focus on put the words on paper. And yeah, and my publishing house, Raycraft Books, they were very patient with me. It gave me a lot of time to be able to, and to write it. And I remember I told them on one email, I don't want to rush. I want to write a good book,
Right.
so, because I can write whatever, so, but I want it to be good. And we agree with you, take your time, so yeah, so, but at the same time, I have to have deadlines, because if they tell me take your time, I will finish it in 2030. But, they gave me a soft deadline, so I was okay. I was able to manage that. But that was the hard part. The book one and book two were, easier to write, but the third one was like, it took a lot of me, but I'm very proud that I finished it. I really like it. It's super funny, and it has those things, like I said, that I think parents and their children are going to enjoy, because sometimes parents are going to catch more than the kids,
Right.
and some things that, and sometimes we don't even realize that the kids are understanding things that we don't think they understand, but, children nowadays know more than they used to know, I think, in my time. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
probably true. But like you said, I mean, it's a fun. At least I love to read the first one. It's such a fun book to read. I can't wait for the second one and then the third one. Do you think that you're gonna continue on in the series, or do you have other projects that you're working on now?
Well, I really hope that we work on more of these books. My contract was for 3 books, so that was the deal. But if the book sells well, if it's it probably, hopefully, they'll want to continue, with at least a couple more books. I already, have some ideas, and but then I do have another project with Raycraft Books as well, and it's another chapter book series, and this one's gonna be called Martina, and this is about a girl who is coping with her father's death. So it's a very different type of book, but still manages to be imaginative and funny, but funny a little bit more nostalgic funny, So it's different in tone than Vampirita. That one I still don't know when it's gonna come out, but it was announced like a couple of years ago, and we still, publishing is a little bit slow. So
Right.
yes.
Do you think you'll continue also with picture books in addition to the?
Yeah, I still write picture books. I have several that we're shopping around. Honestly, the market is being super hard to sell and everything. I don't know if it's the times everybody says that everybody's so busy, all the editors are busy, everybody is discouraged, and so there's a lot of things going on, and I think that has affected as well, the way books that have characters who are not too traditional, the way they are being bought, so I don't know. At least that's been my experience. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I have some things. I've been doing a lot of translation work as well, and I have a few, other projects that hopefully they will take off.
Well, and we should mention too, I just want to, because I'm looking at the time and I know we don't have much left, but I was fascinated because I didn't realize that you also, I mean, you draw and you paint and you've also written music. Like I didn't know that there's a song to go, there's a theme song for Run Little Chaski. And I know you wrote one with your daughter who people should check out 'cause she's a very talented musician, that you guys wrote a song together as the theme song for Vampirita. So what was that like to come up with that song? It's called Home, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, there's a theme song for Run Little Chaski that is called Run Little Chaski and Corre, Pequeño Chaski, and you can find them on Spotify, on whatever, all the platforms. And there's also a song for Benita and the Night Creatures that is called Benita's Theme Song, Benita Theme Song. And it's also there and on the music platforms. And for Vampirita, I have Home, and I have another one that is a cappella. It hasn't been recorded yet, but the lyrics are going to be included in book 2 for Home and for the other one that's called Vampire. And it's a little bit, you know.
Oh, I
Just,
think you have that on your Instagram, I think, or I saw it. So yeah.
yes, yes. So it's a little bit, I do when I visit schools. And I just love doing this because I think it involves children more into the whole world that I'm trying to convey. You know, it makes it more fun. And I also believe that the arts, you know, kind of bleed through every other aspect of our lives. So, you know, I like to combine all of that. I love, like you said, I love drawing, I love painting. I recently published a book of poetry. It's an adult poetry, and I did all of the illustrations. I have it right here, so I'll just show it. And so yeah, so I do all of that, and it's fun. Now creating the songs is super fun. With in the case of so this, you know, I did all of the illustrations on this one and the design and everything of the book. It's just fun for me and it's relaxing. So, you know, I just love it. So, well, with the creation of the song Home, I wrote the lyrics, and Alana, my daughter, she helped me a little bit with the melody. And then we worked with a friend who lives in Barcelona now, and he's the one who made the musical arrangement. So it was a collaboration between the three of us. But I don't know, I think there's, you know, so much more that you can say with music as well, you know. So I really like the song. So yeah.
I think it goes back to what you were talking about, how you went with your books for kids, for readers to feel a certain way, and so music kind of adds to the
Yeah,
feeling of
add
it.
another layer. You know, it gives it more. And usually, I don't know if it happened to you. You know, when you were younger, but remember reading a book that I liked so much, and I was like, well, you know, I want more. I need more of this book. So there's also a song, you know, that you can take with you all the time. You know, you can hear it and you can think about it. So you know, so that was my thought process creating the song, and I just do it because you know I like it, you know. So, but like I said, the lyrics are gonna be included in book 2, so that's really cool.
And everybody can look for book 2, which is coming out November 18th, but it's available for pre-order now. So don't miss out. Go ahead and order it. And
Yeah,
it should be really fun.
and the Musical Mayhem.
Yes, and which I think is Vampirita y el alboroto musical.
Puerto Musical. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Like all of the other books, it's available in English and Spanish. So thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to get to talk with you today.
Thank you. No, it was really nice to be here, and I always follow you. I really appreciate and admire the work that you guys do, and it's so important. So thanks for your
Well,
support.
well, when you said yes to an interview, I had to call up the others that I work with. I said, "You'll never believe who I'm going to get to interview," and they were all everyone was excited. So thank you.
No, I
And
appreciate it.
anybody joining us late, the whole thing will be up on Instagram in just a few minutes, and as always, we will have it on our YouTube channel as well. So thanks to all of you for watching. Thank you, Mariana. It's such a great to talk with you.
Thank you.